Hello everyone, this is Rachel Kirkland, the Modern Shaman, and thanks for joining me for another week of a YouTube video. These are your question and answers that you send in to me, and we discuss from my perspective, or from the perspective of my highest guidance and sense of connection. If you're new to this channel and you're into metaphysical things, welcome. This is our little time together. And I will just say, feel free to visit my website, which is themodernshaman.net, and just kind of, peek around on there. Look at what I'm into, what I'm doing, what I'm about, my backstory, and just there's lots of ways to connect on there. I do feel like if you're going through a time of spiritual inquiry, spiritual growth, spiritual questioning, it's important to find a sense of community, some place that you can truly be yourself and ask the questions that you're honestly feeling. So if you're in that place, please, you're welcome to go to my website, connect with me for a personal session. I do this full-time for a living with clients online via Skype or the phone or in person, also at my offices here in San Antonio, Texas, as well as Santa Monica, California. So if you're interested in that, also even online, whether you want to have a session or have a question, there's also just a link to my Facebook community where there's a lot of back and forth and a sense of other people going through the same thing. So maybe you'll find friends and kind of connect with others that are just high vibrational beings. There's a lot of amazing people that are connected to me on Facebook. So there's those out there if you're wanting to connect. Okay, so here's the question for this week. It came in through the website. Okay, so it says, "Hi Rachel, I watched your videos all weekend." Don't you love that when you have those like binges, on the videos, whether it's on YouTube or on Netflix? We tend to do that, right? We like jump in and then they recommend, and it just keeps going. I love it. You stay in the vibe. Okay, so she says, "I watched your videos all weekend. Thank you for sharing your gifts with us. You are helping to heal the world." And so are you, just sending in these questions. You keep the energy flowing, so thank you for doing that. You're a part of this energy. You're a part of the collective of it. If you weren't asking the questions, I wouldn't be able to tap into what the energy of those out there are needing, so thank you for sending them in. Okay. The question is, I have a question that I'm a little embarrassed to ask. I get that all the time from people. You're not the first to say that. When I see people that I feel compassion for, I say a silent prayer for them. But my ego wants to know, is there any direct benefit to us when we genuinely pray for others? Thank you again for your beautiful work. Okay, so the topic of compassion, the topic of if there's any benefit when we are praying and reaching out on others' behalf. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's get into it. This is an interesting one. So compassion is an interesting energy. Dang it, I'm looking at the video. Sorry, I need to look at the little hole. The actual camera spot. Sorry, I have to keep myself in check about that. I need a producer that's telling me all the while, look here, look here. Sorry about that. Okay, so back to compassion. So let me tell you a little story about compassion because it's an interesting energy and state of awareness. And throughout my personal life, my Rachel life, this energy has shifted and my perspective with compassion has shifted and changed. And if you've watched my videos, and maybe since you had a weekend binge, you've seen something about my past, but at one time I was a missionary. I was an inner city missionary. In my mind, that was my point and focus, was just to share God's love and be reachable to anyone in need vibrationally, be present. And so I spent a year of my time living in the inner city and living on $60 a month, and just basically I wasn't homeless, but I lived off of kind of the bread lines and soup kitchens, and went that route, and just tried to be present and accessible to people that I felt like needed it. It's interesting, and I had a level of true, sincere, heartfelt, compelling desire to do that. And when I was there living, really, I was more poor than a lot of the people that lived in my community or on my street. I mean, when I would, anyways, but when I was in that kind of situation, I realized there were a lot of people that reached out to those in that community, a lot of groups, a lot of church groups, but a lot of the energy that I'm sure had a sincere reach that came from a heart that may have been pure, it still came off when I was in that community as judgmental, as judging us to say, you need to be saved, you need help, I'm capable of helping you, and let me help you. There was this energy, this undercurrent that just didn't feel right to me. I just couldn't sit well with it energetically. Something had a sense of tumultuousness to it within me that didn't feel right. That felt like an ulterior motive or a marketing pitch or something. You know what I mean? You know how you can feel that when someone's like, okay, there's gonna be a pitch at the end of this at the end of this conversation, or what is this leading to? A lot of things just felt like that. Like they were more about the person giving than they were about the person receiving, or that the lines were blurred there. Like, what is the purpose energetically? What is being transferred in terms of energy? Because everything is an energetic exchange. And I think this is why the Bible talks about giving and not letting your left hand know what your right hand is doing, or not praying out loud, but praying, in your own closet or corner, or having a sense of not secrecy, but just not display about your acts of care and kindness, that they're done from a space of the heart. And oftentimes this line is blurred, and you have to check yourself, okay? And I know from me, there were times when I was giving kind of unconsciously from a energy that feels good as the giver, and I think I was receiving more energetically from that exchange than the person themselves. They may not have even needed that food. I used to also, when my kids were little, we would make bags for the homeless. We would make food and toothbrushes and stuff like this, and then we'd always have them in the car, and then if we saw someone's homeless, we'd give them out. Oftentimes that's not what they wanted, or you could feel from the energetic exchange, it was more energy transferred to my children of the sensation of giving than it was in the person receiving, because they genuinely weren't even asking for that. And it's similar to someone who's not asking for your advice, and you just feel like, well, I've learned something, let me teach you, and we do that sometimes as teachers too, or as parents, or we do this. But these subtle lines of energetic exchange, the more and more you refine your vibrational essence, your heart space, the more you can feel what you're actually exchanging energetically. And compassion is one of those subtle energies that you have to pay attention to look at your heart space. Also, I used to do the same thing you shared about, okay? Every time and sometimes I still do, and I was teaching my children this practice too. If we're in the car and we would see someone who was homeless, a lot of times I would put my hands out and transfer. I would tune into what energy I felt like they were needing in that moment, whether it be health or hope or joy or whatever energy, whatever core vibration I felt like they were in need of or calling out for energetically. So I would tune into it, and then I would send them that. I would typically just hold my palms and try to send it out through my palm chakra, or I would think about it and telepathically send it to them and be done. That was after we kind of stopped giving the food and things because people didn't really desire it. And I was doing that one day, and I had this vision of this person. They turned and they looked at me and they smiled, and I just felt them as God, as this. I'm feeling it now when I'm just, I'm feeling it now. It's gonna make me, anyways, I'm just remembering and energetically connecting to that memory. But I absolutely wanted to worship them. They felt so perfectly divine, so full of God's energy. It smacked me in the face, like, I wanted to worship them. And I honestly, I had this smack in the face, like, who the F am I? This is what I heard. To think that they need anything. They were not lacking anything. They were in absolute perfection. Astounding perfection. Exactly as they were. Homeless and dirty and all of those things that initiate the human reaction of compassion, I didn't feel at all. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm lacking in comparison to this being. Sorry, it made me cry. But I had this awareness of, like, these people, I'm coming from an energy of judgment, even feeling compassion. And another layer of that subtle awareness unfolded, and I just worship their divinity. And I try to do this with all beings, in essence, but for some reason, it was triggered through that moment. And so every time I see a homeless person, I use that as a personal trigger to be aware of the divinity in humanness and in, I don't want to say human depravity, but human depth, that intensity of life, choosing a life that is incredibly dramatic and intense and has such depth of living. Goodness gracious, there's so much energy I'm feeling when I just, it's through personal memory and energetically I'm feeling that again. But so is there benefit in that, in those moments? Now, I don't know if you would call that a prayer of compassion for someone, but I definitely know if you are sincerely seeking to be in your highest vibrational energy, and if you are sincerely trying to love another from your highest vibrational space, no matter what that looks like. Sometimes we are children in our awareness, and there's no judgment in that. You are where you are. There's perfection in that, actually. There's no pressure to be anywhere else. But if you're fully present in that awareness and you're trying to love, and that loving energy comes out like compassion. And oftentimes it does, like in this example or the analogy of a child. When you see a child run up to another child on a playground that's just fell and skinned their knee, and they go check on them, that sense of compassion is beautiful, is perfect, is definitely amplifying the energy of love within that individual that is the one giving the prayer, the one giving the compassion. It amplifies that energy from within your own system, within your own auric field, within your own connection to source. It syncs it up. It solidifies that vibrational connection, or that radio dial of frequency that's tuned into love. It aligns it very much like just syncing you up. So is there any benefit in that way? Yes, definitely. Who wouldn't want to be synced up in the vibrational essence of love as often as possible? It also just helps your core energetic frequency be more and more sustained when you hold an energy that is of higher vibrational alignment. Now, I will say, just as I shared those examples within my own experience of life, the more and more you are seeking to continually elevate yourself, the more subtle the lessons and the vibrational variance becomes, and the more aware you become of the energies, even within that of compassion, within that of prayer. And with each sense of awareness, you refine and refine and refine your frequency or your connection to love, to your core source energy, to God, to your essence. And there is a benefit there. I don't know that it would be an ego benefit, maybe. There's not really a sense of linearity with it, like you're going up the scale, or even a sense of growth is more, it feels more like fireworks to me when I am growing. There'll be a growth here, it feels like sparks. It's not like tick, 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 tick. It's like whatever comes up, there's a sense of epiphany, a sense of sudden spiritual awareness and awakeness and alignment that becomes more and more refined and beauty-giving and sharing. And I will say, the more you align with that, the more your life and those around you, those that surround you, feel and amplify and mimic that energy. So there's a benefit always, yes. And the benefit is in it. is the present energy of prayer. It's a beautiful, sincere, heartfelt energy. And even being in it is a gift in itself, is a benefit in itself, is a health benefit for your physical form as well, for your cells, for your eyes, for your internal connections as well as your external connections. So yes, all of it is a sense of benefit. And I would just say, as long as your heart is sincere, you will continue to receive that sense of awareness and benefit. And so will those around you. Love and blessings. We'll be back here next Friday, so tune in for another video. And if you enjoyed this and you vibe with this kind of talk and metaphysical sense of connection, then share it. Share the video, share the page, and click on that little button at the top of the screen that has the bell, so you get notified when I do new videos. I'm always up to stuff, so if you're into this, spread the love.